My name is James Holman, and I am a senior manager at SAS. And to date, we have been releasing SAS 9 content assessment for quite some time. At this point, we've had over 20,000 downloads of SAS 9 content assessment. Our customers on SAS 9 have used our tools to basically do their migration planning. And we thought we would take an opportunity today with you to talk about some of those tools being on Viya 3 and what they can do to help accelerate your move to Viya 4. I would like to introduce you to my friend Bob. Bob works for Acme Corporation, and they've been working with SAS, and they are ready to move to Viya 4. They love Viya 4. They're ready for cloud. They want to use AI responsibly. And really, they're excited about the better analytics, our decisioning, our ability to create more models. Acme uses Viya 3 today, and they're ready to move. They are 100% confident that they know their environment, they know where everything is, and it's time to migrate. Unfortunately, they didn't know it quite as well as they thought they did. Bob and team began to experiencing problems when they started migrating. Something broke. Turns out there was a dependency that nobody knew about. And then another one, and another one. Oh, that desktop path, it doesn't exist in the cloud. So there were paths that needed to be changed. And unfortunately, timelines began to shift, and even worse, they begin to lose confidence. So Bob decides to pivot. They're going to run Viya 3 content assessment at Acme, and they're going to do some migration planning. Because of that fact, suddenly, they see a full inventory of their system. Not only that, they know if their Viya 3 system is eligible to be migrated. All those hidden dependencies, they're visible now. We already know what paths need to be changed. Any compatibility issues are understood. And the most important thing to us at SAS is they're ready to move forward with confidence now, because they've got a plan and they know what they want to do. What changed though? Their environment didn't change. Viya 3 didn't change. What changed was they understood their environment better. So I'd like to take a closer look, if I can, with some feedback we've heard from some of our customers, both on SAS 9 and Viya 3. One of the biggest complaints that we've heard is lack of visibility will slow down everything. If you don't have clear visibility, you run into those hidden dependencies. You discover duplicate data, hard-coded logic, and instead of executing, you spend all your time discovering. Another complaint that we've had is how much low visibility costs. Timelines begin to stretch. Problems surface late. Confidence begins to wane, if not flat out drop. Costs begin to rise, and teams don't really want to move forward anymore because migration looks to be this unmanageable mountain to climb over. We want you to be able to proceed from a discovery phase to an execution phase. Note that we want discovery to come first. We believe our customers really want clarity up front. They want to understand their Viya 3 environment. They want to understand dependencies. And they really want to understand them without much effort. They want to know early what won't migrate so they can focus on execution and not discovery. So, imagine a path forward where our Viya 3 content assessment applications can take the complexity out of your migration. These applications will scan your Viya 3 environment, they will identify what will and won't migrate, and they're going to turn, and to me, this is what we really, the value that we really add. We turn clear technical detail into actionable guidance, allowing you to move confidently to Viya 4. So I'd like to take a moment and show you a little of our applications. So I have to jump out of presentation mode to do that. But I'd like to start with our Viya 3 system evaluation application. Now, the way I got all of this, I ran our tools, it produced data sets, it produced reports, I loaded them into my Viya 3 environment, and now we're looking. System evaluation means exactly what you think it means. We're going to go out to every machine in your deployment. We're using the Ansible deployment technology that you use to deploy the machines in the first place. We go out to every machine in the deployment, and we begin to break down what we're seeing. In my machine layout here, I've got 5 machines. They all have 16 cores, 1 per socket. They're, genuine Intel cores, and I've got the model names. These machines probably aren't coming with me to the cloud. Why do I care? Well, it looks like I had 80 cores to do all of my work. If 80 cores met my need, I need to probably have at least something similar when I move to Viya 4. If 80 cores did not remotely meet my need, I might need more. Likewise, we break down your operating system. Mine happened to be a Rocky Linux at 8.10 on an x86 64-bit architecture. That's only important to me if I care about the format of my data sets, if I care about what is being written to the disk. Moving to Viya, moving to our kernels, our Linux kernels, we're not going to see much trouble here, but it's still worth noting. Now, the one that's of more interest to me personally is the memory attributes. Because you see here, I've got about an equal amount of memory across my machines. But for some strange reason, this first machine is using more memory than any of the others. Now, it's not like I'm in any danger here. I'm only using about 20% of my maximum memory. But why? Is this the machine where I run my heavy ETL? Is this the machine that does post-processing, pre-processing? I don't know, but hopefully you will, because it's your environment and you've been using it. And if this memory layout and this memory footprint is necessary to continue for you, when we get to Viya, we want to make sure we've carved that out. We've gave it the quality of service indicators that it needs, that it can scale. So this is just our way of helping you understand how your system that you've configured and deployed is meeting your business needs in Viya 3. But this has been strictly about your system. How about your SaaS content? I suspect that you probably have created some things in Viya 3. You've got things created by services. You've got things created by CAS. You've got things created from the file system. Let's break down a little bit of that and see what's being used. We try to explain this in terms of portfolios. You license SaaS software. You may have licensed our analytics model management utilities. You may have licensed visual analytics. We want you to look at what you've bought, and just by focusing in a little bit, our inventory application, if my server didn't go down, only during the demo, never during practice whatsoever. If that button had worked, you would have seen 4 analytics types. You would have seen flows, you would have seen models, and you would have begun to see how much usage patterns I had. If the other windows hold together, this is my CAS inventory. For those of you that have used Viya 3, you absolutely know what CAS is, and we're just going to fall over completely today. Had this window worked, you would have seen all my CAS labs on the left and how big they were. On the right, you would have seen the size of the tables in the CAS labs. And down here where we can't see anything but a red X, you would be seeing, what's going on in terms of the pathing. How many of you have created CAS labs in Viya 3? Certainly some of you. And you might have created path-based CAS labs, you might have done Oracle, you might have done DB2. We'll be able to show you some of what's on the location. I'm going to assume that the next one's going to fall over as well. It is trying. If it succeeds, it's going to show you a file system inventory of everything that is on the machine where you told us to look. What can be in the file system? SAS files, data sets, configuration code. Hey, there we go. We got at least the largest file system paths are rendering. Why do we show you this? Hey, files, all right. We show you this because there's a good chance if you move this content, you're going to need the space. And you don't move it, you don't need it. You know that, and SAS just wants to help you with it. I'm going to just stop touching this one probably, but I got one more to try. How many of you use analytics projects? Not seeing any hands? That is fine. I have been told by administrators analytics projects are the single most difficult thing to find because our analytics software creates special CAS libs called A-stores and loads them in a specific location. It's configurable, but I personally have lost them. So we do go ahead and show those to you here. Not to tempt fate, but we're going to jump into the next report and hope for the best. If you remember, Bob ran into trouble because he didn't know his dependencies, and dependencies kept coming up. What do you think a dependency is? Now, I'm very confident when I ask the next question, I'm going to see hands. How many of you have written a live name statement? There are some hands. How many of you used a file name statement? I've seen a couple of hands. If those are your code with file name statements and live name statements, if you move that code to Viya 4, those are dependencies, right? If we read a file, if we read a library, those are input dependencies that must be satisfied when we move to Viya 4. So we break down dependencies in terms of their types. There's an input table type. I read a table and I do some work. And these are tables that we can detail for you by the table name, by its library. My personal favorite are the files. I do a %include. I read a CSV and turn it into a data set. I create, a piece of code. If we do not satisfy our input dependencies when we move to Viya 4, we're not going to see performance. We're going to see failures like Bob did. Now, how about output dependencies? In a perfect world, we see about 95% code compatibility. In Viya 3, we really think we're going to see close to 100% code compatibility. So if your code is going to run and you satisfied your input dependencies, when you get to Viya 4, if you have output tables being created, they will be recreated. It is not necessary to always move your output artifacts, but we show them to you nonetheless, both at the file level and the table level. If your code works, you may not need to move these, but like all of the tools I'm showing you in the server works today, is we're giving you the data to make the decision. You know your environment much better than I do. All right, continuing to tempt fate, we move into the most popular application in SAS 9, and it's our code check application. Now you're looking at me and you're telling me I'm a liar because I just said 100% compatibility in Viya 3. That is true, unless you're like me and put a lot of SAS 9 code on your Viya 3 system so that you can change the numbers. The code written for Viya 3, our code check application will look for compatibility, it will look for incompatibility, but I have some other areas to focus on with you today. I am really bad about this. My personal favorite path is /temp, and I use it all the time in library definitions. The problem with that is I'm going to get lucky. /temp probably exists on my Kubernetes environment. But what if it's my desktop? What if it's an NFS mount that I don't bring with me? So these hard-coded paths are broken down by what created them. And these look familiar, I hope. Live names, path assignments, the dreaded X command. You know, I'm perhaps shelled out to the operating system, copied a file, changed permissions, file name, file ref, et cetera, et cetera. We want you to see these because there's a real chance we need to help you change these paths as you move to Viya 4. Another one, a personal favorite, the warnings. So I'm going to go back to the X command, and in my code, I've used the X command 5 times. The X command, and like anything else in SaaS, will work in Viya 4. It is turned off by default. So any of these warnings, proc HTTP, proc Python, proc Lua, proc SOAP, file name email, any of these warnings are turned off by default in Viya 4. You can turn them on. We want you to see where they're being used so you can have that conversation with your administrator. Likewise, just talk to somebody a little bit earlier at the Move to Viya booth about library engines. Part of migration can be thought of as modernization. And as I modernize my environment, I may move to different database providers. For sake of argument today, let's say I want to move from Teradata to Snowflake. These are all the SaaS files that use Teradata. If I need to move to Snowflake, I'd have to at least change these files to use the Snowflake library engine and the correct options. Again, we want to empower you. I've got one more app left. I'll continue tempting the CAS server. This is our detect duplicates application. How many of you have ever created a .back file? Okay, I personally have. Or are you from the school of thought, .1, .2, .3, .4, .5? It's a real possibility that those are duplicates. So if we look at duplicates, let me break down my yearly schedule here for you. I shouldn't have asked it, but it held together. I'll try again. I've got data here starting in 2024, going to 2025, and to the current year. A SaaS data set, the best way to tell if a SaaS data set's the same as another is with proc compare. There are certainly other ways to do it, but if I pick a group here, and I'm going to pick this particular group, I've got too many groups selected, let me change that. I'll pick this group here. It appears in the year 2024, the year 2025, and the year 2026, I'd never changed the data set. You may be in an industry where this is perfectly fine, and you may need to migrate all 3 of these copies. I don't know that. Or it could be, like me, you forgot you did it, and I only need the current one. Exactly the same process is applicable to files. If you have SaaS programs broken down in the same yearly manner, 2024, 2025, 2026, and you pick a group, in my particular case, in my OR subdirectory, I have a SaaS file, netsle02.sas, that never changed. In both these scenarios, we take hashes of the files. Files are easy to hash. SaaS data sets are more complicated, and we use SaaS to do that. And anytime the hashes are the same, we present the group. Again, you may need to bring all 3 of these. I have worked with companies where they break projects up by folder, and they migrate them all, whether the code's the same or not. It's a decision that you want to make. So in the couple minutes we've got left, I'd like to go over a couple more things with you. All of everything I've just showed you is available today to you for free. We want you to sign up. If you've never been to our demos and downloads site, sign up with your SaaS profile, and you can download, in this particular download, our code check application, our detect duplicates application, and our code dependencies application. Like I said, we use Ansible to power all of this, and we use your deployment assets to do so. Likewise, for the inventory application and the system evaluation application, you would download the SaaS Admin Administration Framework. It's a command line interface, and you would download the inventory plugin. The inventory plugin will produce the playbooks necessary to run evaluation and inventory. So, what happens next? Well, you all rush home and you download all these and you run them. If you do that, hopefully we succeeded, and you've got a plan now to make your migration faster, to reduce risk earlier, and honestly, that confidence came back. And at that point, the next step is simple. You've got the data, use those insights. What am I going to move first? What am I going to fix? And really, just go play with SaaS Viya 4. Because that's where we've got our power, that's where we've got our analytics, and if we help you get there without too much trouble, that's our goal. So, I'm in the Move to Viya booth around the corner in the Innovation Hub, and if you saw this morning, Christiana Lyken, our product manager, met with Post and Bring, one of our customers, who've done a successful 9.4 to Viya migration. They'll be in the Spotlight Theater in just a couple minutes. But I appreciate your time today. Do you have any questions I can answer?
Thank you. I would like to ask if you know about any efforts on trying to develop an agent with AI to help customers in the migration process. I think that's quite useful use case.
Okay. We have been looking into that and are working on an application we call migration management. Think of it as not necessarily a project planning application, but an application that can take content assessment data, which you have run and looked at, collate that data, and then feed it to exactly an agent, a model, and start asking questions in a very bespoke manner. Because it's your data, the model is only going to look at your data, and then the answers that come back really should be answers for you. So we certainly are looking at that. Any others? Well, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.